Advent. Welcome to weekly devotion at Good Shepherd and
Lena UMC.
Thank you for watching the video, my friends. So during the Advent, as I announced, we have a special guest, Pastor Terry. Thank you for joining. So we thought something, you've seen this, the Advent candle, and which has the 4 different themes in there. So we can talk each week a different theme of the Advent candle for weekly devotion. So let me light the first one. By the way, I'm lighting the hope one, and there's a 4 thing like what? Peace, hope, love, joy. I never know the right order, and
I don't think there is a right order.
I think there's a lot of variety of it. So we just do something might be not the same as you used to do it, but what's important is the message that each talks about God and where we see God in this one. So today we talk about hope, and Pastor Terry, you have the scripture for us.
Yeah. So this week we'll hear the story that begins the good news according to Mark, and we're going to read verses 1 through 15. So the beginning of the good news about Jesus Christ, God's Son, happened just as it was written about in the prophecy of Isaiah. Look, I am sending my messenger before you. He will prepare your way. A voice shouting in the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord, make his paths straight. John the Baptist was in the wilderness calling for people to be baptized to show that they were changing their hearts and lives and wanted God to forgive their sins. Everyone in Judea and all the people of Jerusalem went out to the Jordan River and were baptized by John as they confessed their sins. John wore clothes made of camel's hair with a leather belt around his waist. He ate locusts and wild honey. He announced, one stronger than I am is coming after me. I'm not even worthy to bend over and loosen the strap of his sandals. I baptize you with water, but he will baptize you with the Holy Spirit. About that time, Jesus came from Nazareth of Galilee, and John baptized him in the Jordan River. While he was coming up out of the water, Jesus saw heaven splitting open and the Spirit like a dove coming down on him. And there was a voice from heaven, you are my Son, whom I dearly love. In you I find happiness. At once the Spirit forced Jesus out into the wilderness. He was in the wilderness for 40 days, tempted by Satan. He was among the wild animals, and the angels took care of him. After John was arrested, Jesus came into Galilee, announcing God's good news, saying, now is the time. Here comes God's kingdom. Change your hearts and lives and trust this good news. The word of God for the people of God.
Thanks be to God. Okay, so what to do with the hope then? I was listening to it. Okay, hope.
Where's hope?
Where do you see hope when you read that one?
I just, I think about when Isaiah was writing, and also Mark, and just, the despair that was all around folks as they were just struggling under so much oppression, and just everywhere they looked around them, there was pain. And so to hear that God's saying, look, I'm sending the messenger, prepare your way, I'm coming. That trust that God is coming, that God is making a way, is a beautiful source of hope. Especially right now, I think a lot of us are in a place of despair. We may not be persecuted or in exile, but a lot of us, we're isolated. We're all of our
values and our way of life
everything's
so bad.
Yeah, and so I think in this period, it's important to say, even now, even when you're isolated in your houses, even when all of your routines are upended, even when all of your shops have to be closed, even then, prepare the way because God's coming.
So where do you see God's coming?
I see it in the beauty that God works through the community, and caring for one another because of the hope that we do have. I think, just trusting that God's coming gives you the energy to do more. And so, I see it there. I see it in the way that in our scriptural stories, you see over and over pain, but there's something after the pain. We're not left in that spot. How about you?
So, I see the hope in my Christmas cactus decided to bloom this time.
I know. Seems like a lot of other things are dying off, and Christmas cactuses decide to bloom.
So, it's only bloom when it's Thanksgiving and Christmas or something. I don't know. I don't think they bloomed last year. I can't recall it. But the days, it's like every day it's like way too many other things. My shoulders are getting like heavier and heavier day after day. But this is something decide to bloom when it's time to bloom. Mm-hmm. And just seems lots of death, lots of despair, but the life is still there, and life still goes on. That's kind of I see in the hope. My town is brown, but the plant itself do its own way and decided to come around. And when I see it, it's like, it just makes me feel that, God is good. God still is working through when things seem outer darkness. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Really, that's the way. So that's my hope. Today I found.
Yeah.
And to see God is like, God, you're still working.
And making beauty,
Sort of, it's like, it's totally, it's out of control. They just go for the sun, and as I said, my town is not green, and it just go its own way, but that's, like, takes me out when I'm focused on something else, and it's like, just like, sit back and say, wait a second, what is still a pretty place? Mm-hmm. And it just see God's hands working through to see those. And that's kind of, I associate with the hope when we talk about it. And reading, I thought it's interesting. What I hear is this coming, as you said.
Yeah.
Coming of the messenger, coming of the God's kingdom, and the God's reign is coming, and it's just ended with Jesus saying, here it is.
Yeah.
It's here now for you.
And I love how Mark doesn't have any of that cute little baby in a manger story. Mark just goes like, all right, we none of that stuff, because we know the truth of how messy and awful this world is. But let's get to it. God's coming, So.
I missed those parts, but that's coming all the time, right?
Yeah, it's just, but I think there's that immediacy of, Mark, of course, is the one that's always just like short and to the point, but.
Yeah, because that's the person who couldn't memorize all the words.
Yeah. But, it's just that idea of, okay, let's not just sugar, let's just get to this. And the threat is very real there. I mean, John got arrested. And, if we know from other stories, that arrest was not a good thing. John ended up with his head on a different place than the rest of them, right? Mm-hmm. So even in this very opening, even as Jesus and John before him were proclaiming, get ready, God's coming. Even then, you have that kind of I don't know, would you even say evil in the world is still there. Yeah. And even in that tension, even in that reality, God's still coming. And I think that's, for me, that's the hope.
And that's the hope we hear in the Advent, because we are journeying and waiting for it. So to end with, I think, thank you, Pastor Gavin. No, I like it. It's pretty neat. So for the end, I thought like we do the prayer, and in the Good Shepherds, there's lots of things called treasure, and this is a treasure I found recently about, this is a gift to the church for the, it's just a celebration, share the joy of their daughter's baptism. So we don't use much, but they have the prayer for every Sunday, and I thought maybe we can try that one, and warn you, this is a little long. I'll try my best to do fast. If you are curious about it, come to the church and just look at inside and read it. So this is a prayer for first Sunday of Advent. Almighty God, Father of all mercies and God of all comfort, who since the world began, didst give through thy holy prophets the promise of mercy and deliverance. We thank and pray thee for the coming of the Son Jesus Christ, the light of lighten the Gentiles and the glory of the people Israel. We beseech thee, O God, that as thy faithful people in every age have earnestly and heartily believed thy word, so we may also unwaveringly believe and be found worthy to obtain thy heavenly promise. And as a servant in the Israel of the old covenant looked with fervent longing for the coming of the Messiah, the deliverer, grant that we may eagerly and joyfully welcome him, Jesus our Lord, into our hearts by faith, and thus be delivered by his might from the power of sin, death, and the devil. To this end, dear God, lead us by the Spirit to an understanding of our great sinfulness and our need of repentance. Teach us to repent. Help us to hate evil and to love the good. Strengthen us against the temptation of all our adversaries. Incline our hearts to seek righteousness and holiness, that thus we may serve and glorify thee. Send out the light to all corners of the earth. The man everywhere may know thy love in the gift of thy Son, Jesus Christ, and join the multitude of thy people who say, Blessed is he that cometh in the name of the Lord. Hosanna in the highest. Grant peace and tranquility to the nations of the earth. Especially do we ask thy favor upon our own land and all who dwell here. Guide all who are in authority over us, that in all things they may do thy will and acknowledge thee, the only true God. Bless all who are gathered here in thy house this day, and sanctify them by thy word. To those among us who are afflicted in any way, to those who are in sorrow, to those who are enduring trials, to those who may be in any necessity of body or spirit, grant such strength, comfort, and understanding that they, loving thee above all else, may in patience and constantly know that joy of the abiding presence. All these things we ask in the name of him who came for our deliverance, died for our salvation, rose again for our justification, and ever lives to intercede for us before the majesty on high, even Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. So that's when is your service start on Sunday?
9 a.m.
9 a.m. So you can, it's Facebook Live?
Yep.
You can go to the Lena UMC's Facebook to watch the service at 9 o'clock, and then we're done in 30 minutes, so you can come to Good Shepherd and watch our Facebook Live service at 9:30.
Then you can get double the church.
I don't know, but anyway, that's a joke of it.
You know what I love about, so you were joking earlier before we read about the language, because, we don't use these and nows and minds. And often when we hear those, we think of that as like a very formal language, because the only person we ever address with these thousand thines anymore is God. But in Old English, thee, thou, and thine, that was the intimacy. You was the formal that created. And so, I love that in that, we often think that we're being, we're almost putting God apart, but by using that intimacy that God has given us, to be able to say to God, you, intimate you, not just you far away, you big God on high, but you intimate God who has come into our lives. That there is hope.
Wow.
The intimacy of the thee, thou, and thine.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to add that because we were joking earlier that part of the reason that they're not using those prayers anymore is because the language just sounds funny to our ears now.
The foreigners can pronounce those.
Yeah, and so, but it's just interesting with that.
Neat. Well, thank you.
Anyway. So.
Well, next week you read the prayer and you can go into more intimacy with thy and thee, and which I struggled with my English. But good. Well, thank you so much. Friends, you have a happy Thanksgiving and have a good